When tension spikes between the United States and Iran, the immediate panic usually centers on two things: a sudden surge at the gas pump and a corresponding plunge in the stock market. But fixating entirely on the price of a gallon of unleaded is a dangerous distraction. It ignores the actual physical realities of modern survival. The real hazard lies here, at the Strait of Hormuz. It is a narrow, 21-kilometer geographical bottleneck that links the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. Blocking this strait triggers a grinding halt in the global manufacturing of semiconductors, a crisis that impacts modern infrastructure long before the fuel pumps run dry. Following closely behind that technological freeze is a second, far more severe threat: the sudden removal of the chemical inputs required for the global food supply. A localized conflict in this specific stretch of water guarantees a severe economic recession. Ultimately, it severs the invisible, highly fragile supply chains that keep billions of people alive and connected. For decades, Western military strategy in the Middle East has relied heavily on decapitation strikes. The goal is to eliminate a central leader to instantly collapse the target country's military chain of command. But Iranian leadership has watched these conflicts unfold in neighboring countries, and they have custom-built their military infrastructure to make those tactics completely useless. Instead of a vulnerable top-down hierarchy, Iran decentralized its forces into 31 highly fortified, self-sufficient provinces with independent fail-safes. Because decapitation doesn't disable these units, a quick victory is impossible. Facing a prolonged attack, their logical retaliatory maneuver is completely blocking the Strait of Hormuz. Any sustained conflict practically guarantees this choke point will close, initiating a chain reaction that will rapidly collapse global supply lines. Consider the role of one invisible supply thread: helium. Roughly 30% of the entire world's helium supply is extracted from a single massive gas field shared directly between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Because helium is an inert element, meaning it doesn't chemically react with other substances, it is physically impossible to replace it with another gas in advanced manufacturing processes. You absolutely need it to build semiconductors. Without a constant flow of helium, the delicate manufacturing process for producing memory chips and CPUs simply cannot happen. To make matters worse, helium is notoriously difficult to store. Its atoms are so small they slowly leak right through physical containers, making it impossible for tech-producing nations to stockpile long-term reserves. If the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, the global semiconductor industry faces a total operational shutdown within 3 to 6 months. Blocking this 21-kilometer stretch of water physically terminates the planet's ability to produce new electronics, effectively freezing the hardware that runs our global technological infrastructure. Another critical resource follows the same path: agricultural fertilizer, which requires sulfur and petroleum byproducts extracted directly from the Gulf. This flowchart illustrates the Haber-Bosch process, showing how petroleum and natural gas combine with nitrogen to create the fertilizer sustaining global crop production. Crucially, 20 to 30% of the world's fertilizer supply must pass through the Strait of Hormuz to reach farms. Losing access to this regional supply translates to an immediate proportional drop in agricultural yields, which would plummet by roughly 20%. Without these chemical inputs, the planet's carrying capacity drops from 8 billion people to less than 2 billion. In that context, closing this single shipping lane triggers an inevitable global famine. This chart plots global energy consumption against gross world product over the last 40 years. As you can see, the two lines move in perfect synchronization. Because they are inextricably linked, a sudden 5 to 10% drop in global energy and physical resource availability equates directly to a massive contraction in global production. Yet this hard physical reality is frequently ignored by world leaders, who routinely treat the Middle East as a sandbox for political leverage, optics, or short-term market manipulation. The comfort of modern life relies on a precarious thread of cooperation. As long as our essential survival resources are tethered to one single geographic choke point, nobody on Earth is insulated from the consequences.